Here is a continuation of our previous video on how to cut a backless dress with side gathers. In this particular video, we'll be doing the cutting and sewing part. So I was actually supposed to sample this on a mannequin or put it on, but due to when I was ironing, my fabric got burnt. But I'll be sharing with you the processes on how to make this dress. So first, here is the pattern, and the fabric I'm using is a Duchess. So for the neckline area, I added like a little dart there. I went ahead to like pleat out this neckline so that it's not going to give. So after pleating this out, I'll go ahead to use my pattern to cut this out, and I'll also cut out the back pattern. So starting from the back pattern, this is what I have. At the upper part, I added half inch and added half inch at this area. So I went ahead to like increase the length of my dress to make it a bit longer. So what I'll do is just to chop out the area that I feel I have excess. So you're not going to add half inch to the sides and also to the zipper area. Now going over to the front pattern, I'm also going to go ahead to add half inch to my pattern and on the neckline area and also the armhole. I went ahead to increase the length of my dress just like I did for the back. So I'll just go ahead and I will cut out a facing for this particular dress. So now if you want to cut out the lining, you can go ahead to do that. I'll be using the facing to turn the upper part of this dress. I'll cut out this area which I'll be using to cut out the facing that I'll be using for this fabric. So now you know the sleeve of this dress or the hand is actually long. You can cut it together just as seen at the thumbnail. So please sorry for the noise at the background of the video. So for the back, I'll go ahead to cut this out and I'll use this part to cut out the facing of the dress. Now you can use a full lining for this, or you can just go ahead to cut out and use a facing for the upper part. So I've gone ahead to cut out the facing with the pattern that I cut out. Now I'm going to go ahead to iron it out, and I will go ahead to fold the lower part of this area of this dress, to make it neat. So this is what I have, and this is the facing on this part of my pattern. Now I'm going to pin this up, and after pinning it, I'm going to go ahead to shape out this dress, that is to turn the upper part and the neckline with half inch. I'll also go ahead to stitch the sides of this dress. So I'll go over to the machine and I'll do that, and after that I'll be stitching the back also, and I'll show you what I have. I'm going to place this and I'll be stitching the sides of this dress also and the upper part. Now I've gone ahead to stitch it and I turned it, and I went ahead to also iron it out. Now I went ahead to place it together. So remember when we're adding a zipper allowance, I used 1.5 inches. Now for this dress, the upper part, since we've gone ahead to turn that upper part, what I will mark for the lower part is 1.5, and what I will mark for the upper part, the part that has facing, will be 1 inch, and that is what I'll be using to join the zipper at the part that has facing. I'll use 1 inch there. Now for the lower part, I'm going to go ahead to use 1.5. Now I'll come down a bit from this side towards that curve so that when I add my zip, I will be able to open it and the dress will fit. So now this is the dress. I've gone ahead to like turn it up. So what I'll do is to go ahead to notch it, and after I'm done notching it, I'm going to turn it to the right side of this dress, and I'm going to go ahead to iron it out. So also notch the neckline very well so that it will come out deep, and this is me turning it. So after turning it, I went ahead to cut out this wrap, which is about 20 inches by 5 inches on fold. So I'll go ahead to turn it and I'll be joining it to my sleeve to make it longer. Now this is the back pattern of this dress, and I went ahead to add the zipper to it. Now this is the front part that we added the extra extension to. So you're going to go ahead to fold the lower part of your dress when you're done. So I'll just go ahead to pin this out because I want to shape out my dress. So please go ahead to pin before going ahead to join. So please ignore the noise at the background of this video. So after this, I'll just continue pinning and I'll insert my measurements. Next, I'll place my tape and I will mark my shoulder to bust line. So to place your tape, that place you have joining on the shoulder, that is where you will start placing your tape. Now I'll mark my shoulder to bust line, shoulder to under bust line, and I'll also mark the waistline of this dress. So I'm going to place my tape at the bust area, and what I have is 18.5 inches, and I'll just mark out 1 inch on both sides because my bust is 33 divided by 2. I have 16.5, and the measurement I have there is 20. So if you minus 18, if you minus 16.5 from 20, you will have 2 inches left, and then you mark 1 inch on both sides. Now place my tape at the under bust, which I have 17 inches. Now my under bust is 20. If you divide it, what you have is 14. And when I placed my tape at the under bust, I had about 17. So if you minus 14 from 17, you'll have 3 inches. So that 3 inches you share 1.5 on both sides. My waist and under bust is the same measurement, so I'll be inserting 14 inches on the waistline. So from that point, I'm going to tilt it to the side this way, and I will reconnect my pattern. So sorry this video is not that detailed. I was actually rushing because of time. So I'll just go ahead and shape that part out. After shaping this out, this is the side which we have cut out. So I'll just use one pattern and I'll use it to cut the both. So first, here is my fabric and I'll fold it again because I'm cutting 2 pieces at the same time. That is 2 sides. So for this pattern here, what I have is about 2.5, and I went ahead to refold it again. That is, I folded it first time, then I folded it again. So by the time I open it, I will have like 2 pieces cut on fold, right? Now before cutting the lower part, placing this pattern, I went ahead to measure out the extra inches I added to the actual gown. So when I was recording, I didn't realize that I didn't record that part of the video. Like my camera did not get that part. So underneath I marked extra inches just to match up with what I have also on the main fabric. So now what I'll do is place my pattern and you'll be adding extra inches to it, or that is a slash and spread, to make sure that the side you have like enough gathers or opening on this side of the pattern. So after each part of the pattern I measured about 4 inches before placing each part of this pattern. After doing that, all you do is to go ahead to add ½ inch following the curve that you have at the upper part. So I have videos on how to achieve this also if you're finding it difficult to understand this particular video. Now just go ahead and mark that ½ inch all the way following the shape this way. So now when I was cutting open my pattern, instead of cutting open this side and also leave the other side unfold, I mistakenly cut this part I'm pointing now. I mistakenly cut it out together. So that part I meant to cut it out open, like I'm supposed to slit it and then cut the other end of this fabric unfold, because that is the part that is going towards the hip area of this pattern right now. But after I was done cutting, what I did was to join up the sides, which is the part going to the hip, and open up to the lower part, which is the part going to the front side of this dress. Just like I said, I added few inches to the lower part of my dress so that it will be slightly longer from what I have from the pattern, because I also did that for the center part of this dress. So this is me mistakenly cutting open this side when I'm supposed to leave it on fold. But what I will do is to go ahead to join it up and then open up this shorter side. So when I was done cutting and opened it up, that was when I realized I made a mistake. So now what I'll do is to cut open the center part of this dress, that part that has like a love shape, and then join the sides of my dress back with 1/2 inch by the side, right? So I'll go over to the machine and I will do that. So after I was done joining, this is the sides, and now we are going to pin this down. So I'll also go ahead to iron this out. This fabric is a bit silky and you want to really avoid hot iron, but when I was ironing, I mistakenly burnt my dress, so that is why I could not even sample it on the mannequin or put it on. So take the sides of your dress and pin to the sides of the lower part of this dress. Now after doing that, take the lower part and match up with the lower part of the pleats of this dress. Make sure that the end matches, and I'll go ahead to pin it. Now the remaining part on top, what you do is you're going to go ahead to pleat it back to the side or to the upper part of this dress, right? You're going to pin it and you're going to be stitching it with 1/2 inch. So you also want to be careful at that part so that you not have something that will not relax, because the pleat of this dress is the beauty of the dress. Now I'll just go ahead and pin up my pattern. So I'll just go ahead to pin and pleat till I get my desired shape, and then I'll stitch up the sides with 1/2 inch. After stitching that, I'll repeat the same process at the other side of the dress. So after I was done sewing, this is the final look of the dress. So this is the back. I'll go ahead to open the zipper, then I'll close it back, and this is the front part of this dress, and this is what we have. So if you haven't yet subscribed, please go ahead to hit on the subscribe button, and see you in our next video. Thanks.